In a quiet neighborhood of Atlanta, Georgia, there lived a woman named Marissa, a mother of two. Marissa worked long hours as a janitor at a local school. She was the kind of woman who always put others before herself, who could brighten anyone's day with a smile. But life had never been easy for her. Financial struggles were a constant, and every day felt like a battle just to get by. One crisp autumn afternoon, while walking home from work, Marissa spotted something on the sidewalk. At first, she thought it was just some litter, but as she got closer, she realized it was a wallet, a sleek leather wallet, expensive looking. It was a rich, deep brown color with gold accents that gleamed in the sunlight. Welcome! You're about to hear an unbelievable story about a woman who returned a lost wallet without taking a penny, not knowing it belonged to a millionaire. Trust me, the twist at the end will shock you. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this and share your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned because you won't want to miss what happens next. Curiosity tugged at her, but she quickly pushed it aside. She had a family to feed, bills to pay, and the temptation of taking what wasn't hers wasn't something she usually entertained. But then she picked it up, feeling its weight in her hand. She opened it carefully. Inside was a large amount of cash, more money than Marissa had seen in her entire life, along with several credit cards and a driver's license. The name on the ID card read Ethan Cole. The picture showed a young, sharp-looking man, clearly well-dressed and well-groomed. Marissa quickly noted the address on the card. It wasn't far from where she lived. For a moment, a thought crossed her mind. She could take the money. No one would know. She could pay off her rent, buy some new clothes for her kids, even get a better Christmas for her family this year. But she didn't do it. She didn't even hesitate. Marissa closed the wallet, stuffed it in her purse, and set off toward the address. This will shock you, what she did. Marissa knocked on the door of the mansion a few blocks away, unsure of what to expect. The house was grand, the kind of place that only someone with a lot of money could afford. It looked so out of place next to the small homes lining the street. Moments later, the door opened to reveal a tall, handsome man in his early 30s. He looked at her with a hint of confusion, no doubt wondering why a woman like her would show up at his doorstep. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice calm but with a touch of surprise. "Hi," Marissa began, holding out the wallet. "I found this on the sidewalk down the street. I think it belongs to you." The man's face shifted from curiosity to something else, something like disbelief. He glanced down at the wallet, then back at her. That's my wallet. I can't believe you found it. Thank you, Ethan Cole. It turned out wasn't just any man. He was a young tech millionaire, the founder of a successful startup that had recently sold for millions. He was only in his early 30s, but he had made more money than most people would see in a lifetime. Marissa had no idea who he was when she showed up at his door. She simply knew she had found a lost wallet, and she knew the right thing to do was return it. But what happened next would change her life forever. "Please come inside," Ethan insisted, stepping back to let her in. "You've done something that not many people would do. You're a rare kind of person." Marissa shook her head, uncomfortable with the sudden attention. "I'm just doing what anyone else would do." "No, not everyone would," he said, closing the door behind her. "You see, I've worked hard for everything I have, and most people, when they find something like this, they'd take it. You didn't. That's rare. I want to thank you for your honesty." Ethan led her into his luxurious living room, offering her a drink. Marissa hesitated, but eventually sat down. She had never been in a house like this before. It felt surreal, but she was focused on one thing: her family. She didn't need anything from him, not really. She didn't want to take advantage of him, but Ethan was insistent. "I can't just let you walk away with nothing," he said. "You've done something extraordinary. You've shown me a level of integrity I rarely see. I want to help you." Marissa smiled weakly, trying to brush him off. "I'm fine, really. I just wanted to return what was yours. That's enough for me." Ethan paused, studying her. Then he stood and walked over to a drawer in the corner of the room. He pulled out a checkbook and wrote something down before folding the check in half. He returned to her, holding it out. "Take this," he said. "It's the least I can do." Marissa glanced down at the check. Her heart nearly stopped when she saw the number written on it: $100,000. Her breath caught in her throat. Could she accept this? It was more money than she had ever seen in her life. But it was also a reminder of the life she had always wanted: better, easier, less stressful. Still, she hesitated, knowing she couldn't take something that didn't belong to her. I can't," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Ethan looked at her with a mix of admiration and frustration. "I insist. Please, you've given me something priceless today, your integrity. I can never repay you for that, but I want to help." Marissa stood up, feeling overwhelmed. She had no idea how to respond. Her mind raced. What would my family think? What would my friends say? But in her heart, she knew that she could never take something so much larger than what she had expected. "I appreciate it," she said, stepping back, "but I can't accept that. I'm just doing what's right." Ethan looked at her, a silent moment passing between them. Then he gave a small smile. "You're one in a million, Marissa. I don't know many people who would do what you did." With that, she turned to leave, the weight of the decision still heavy in her heart. As she walked out the door, she felt a mix of relief and awe. She didn't know if she had made the right choice, but one thing was certain: her life would never be the same. And that's where the story takes another shocking twist. A few months later, Marissa received a letter in the mail. It was from Ethan Cole. Inside was a check for $100,000. He wrote, "You didn't take what I offered, and I respect that. But now I'm offering you something more, an investment in your future, in your family's future. You deserve it more than anyone else." Marissa stared at the check, unable to believe what she was reading. Ethan had found a way to give her the opportunity to change her life, and this time it was on her terms. The story of Marissa and Ethan spread quickly, not just in Atlanta, but across the nation. A tale of honesty, integrity, and unexpected kindness. One that would leave everyone wondering, what would I have done in her shoes? Weeks passed since Marissa had handed back Ethan's wallet. Life, as it always had been, carried on. She went back to work, tending to her family, keeping her head down and doing the best she could. But that day, the one where she'd made the decision to do what was right rather than what was easy, lingered in her mind. She couldn't shake the image of Ethan standing there in his fancy house, offering her money, more money than she had ever dreamed of. It was hard not to wonder, what if I had taken it? The temptation gnawed at her every now and then, but she stuck to her guns. She had done what was right, and no matter how difficult things got, her conscience was clear. One chilly December evening, as Marissa sat at her kitchen table, the doorbell rang. She wasn't expecting anyone, and with a house full of kids and the chaos of dinner cooking, she wasn't in the mood for a surprise. But when she opened the door, there stood a delivery man holding an envelope with no return address. Inside the envelope was a single letter. As she unfolded it, her heart raced. It was from Ethan. "Marissa, I hope this letter finds you well. I've been thinking about you a lot since we last met. There's something I need to tell you, something that might change everything. I've been keeping an eye on you, not in a creepy way, but in the way you might check on someone who made an impression on you. You're a rare person, Marissa. You didn't just do the right thing. You did the right thing in a world that often rewards people for doing the wrong thing. I believe in giving back, and I think you're someone who could really make a difference with the right resources. I've arranged for something that might surprise you. I don't expect you to take it, but I hope you will. Ethan Cole." Marissa stared at the letter in disbelief. Was he serious? What could he possibly be offering her now? A few days later, an unfamiliar number popped up on her phone. She hesitated, but something inside told her to answer. "Marissa?" the voice on the other end asked. It was Ethan. "Ethan?" Marissa said, surprised. "What's going on? I got your letter." "Look, I'm not sure how to explain this," Ethan said, his tone serious. "But I've been working on something. I want to offer you a real opportunity, something that can change your life." Marissa's stomach twisted. Was this another offer of money? She couldn't keep accepting handouts, could she? "Ethan, I don't know if I can—" "I'm not offering money this time," he interrupted. "I'm offering you a partnership." "A partnership?" she asked, completely confused. "Yeah. You see, I've been looking for someone to run a community project I'm funding. It's about helping people who've been overlooked. Single mothers, families struggling to make ends meet, folks like you, Marissa. You've got the heart and the honesty to make this work. I want you to be the head of it." Marissa sat in stunned silence. A partnership? Her? "I know this is a lot to take in, but hear me out. I'm setting up a nonprofit that will focus on helping people just like you, people who work hard but still can't catch a break. I want you to lead it, to help me change the narrative for families who've been stuck in a cycle of poverty." Marissa's hands trembled as she clutched the phone. How could this be real? A partnership? Running a nonprofit? This wasn't just a chance for a better life. It was a chance to make a difference in the lives of others. "I don't know what to say," Marissa finally whispered. "I've never done anything like this." "I know. That's why I'm here to help you," Ethan said gently. "I believe in you. I wouldn't offer this if I didn't. You have the ability to make a real change, and you're the kind of person people will trust." Marissa's mind raced. Could she really do this? Could she step into something so big? A real opportunity. For the first time in years, she saw a glimpse of something more, a future that was within reach, but seemed impossible. For the next few weeks, Marissa worked closely with Ethan. He mentored her through the basics of nonprofit work, and even though it was overwhelming, she began to feel something she hadn't felt in years: hope. She was a part of something bigger now, and it wasn't just about her. It was about the community she loved. But life had a way of throwing curveballs. Just as the nonprofit was gaining traction, Marissa received another unexpected call, this time from a local news station. "Ms. Carter?" the reporter asked. "We've been hearing about your work with Ethan Cole, and we'd love to do a story on you. We think it's inspiring what you're doing, especially considering where you started." Marissa's heart skipped a beat. A story on the news? She had never dreamed of such attention, but then she thought about it. If the media got involved, it could mean more donations, more opportunities to expand the nonprofit, more chances to help the people who had been overlooked for so long. The next week, Marissa was featured on the local news. The cameras followed her as she visited families in need, talked about the struggles single mothers faced, and shared how the nonprofit was changing lives. The segment aired in prime time, and it quickly gained national attention. Before she knew it, people from all over the country were calling, asking how they could contribute, how they could get involved. As the attention grew, so did the pressure. Marissa found herself juggling the demands of running the nonprofit, speaking at events, and trying to balance her personal life. But there was one thing she knew for sure. She was in a place she never thought possible, and it was all because of that one moment when she chose integrity over temptation. But just when everything seemed to be falling into place, an unexpected twist came that would shake Marissa to her core. One afternoon, Marissa received a letter. It wasn't from Ethan. It was from someone claiming to be from a rival tech company, one that had been in competition with Ethan for years. The letter hinted that Ethan's success wasn't entirely due to his own efforts, that there were people involved in shady dealings, people who might have done anything to manipulate the system. Was Ethan the man she thought he was? The revelation shook Marissa to her core. Everything she had worked so hard for, everything she believed in, was suddenly cast into doubt. Was this the truth? Or was it an attempt to tear Ethan and her down? The question remained, who was Ethan really? Weeks turned into months. Marissa found herself deeper into the nonprofit work, feeling like she was on the verge of something incredible. She was meeting new people, gaining attention, and truly making a difference. Ethan was still by her side, guiding her with the kind of mentorship that felt personal, real, and supportive. It wasn't just about business anymore. It felt like she was part of something bigger than herself, something that could change the lives of families across the country. She'd often reflect on that day she found his wallet, knowing in her heart that if she had taken that money, none of this would have happened. Her confidence was growing, but something unexpected was on the horizon. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, as Marissa sat in her office, a knock at the door broke her concentration. She looked up to find a young man standing there, drenched from the rain. His clothes were expensive, designer, and his look was sharp, a stark contrast to the modest, hard-working people she was used to seeing. He introduced himself as Adam, an investigative journalist who worked for a prominent news outlet. His presence sent a jolt of unease through her. Journalists were known to dig for the truth, and sometimes the truth could be a dangerous thing. "I'm here to talk about Ethan Cole," Adam said, his eyes searching hers for a reaction. "I've been following his rise, and I think there's more to the story than what we're being told. I need your help." Marissa's heart raced. What was this all about? She motioned for him to sit, and he didn't waste any time. "Look, I know you've been working closely with Ethan, but I need to know. Do you really know who he is? What his business dealings have been like?" Marissa shook her head, a wave of confusion washing over her. "Ethan's been nothing but supportive. He's helped me build this nonprofit. He's given me a chance I never thought I'd have." Adam's expression hardened. "That's the public story, isn't it? But I've been digging, Marissa. I've found connections, financial backdoor deals that don't sit right, and I'm not the only one who's noticed." Marissa's stomach twisted. Was this some sort of smear campaign? "What are you trying to say?" "I'm saying," Adam leaned in, "that Ethan's rise might not be all it seems. And I think you're involved in something much bigger than you realize. There's money, dirty money, and I have evidence that Ethan might have used questionable tactics to get where he is today." The words hit Marissa like a punch to the gut. Was it possible? Ethan had always been up front with her, always kind and generous, but now she found herself wondering, could there be a hidden side to him? Adam slid a folder across the table. "I have receipts, documents, insider information. If you want, I can show you everything." Marissa hesitated, torn between her loyalty to Ethan and the gnawing feeling that something wasn't right. But curiosity and fear pushed her to open the folder. As she flipped through the pages, she saw things she couldn't ignore. Contracts that made no sense, payments to companies she'd never heard of, names of people who seemed to have disappeared off the map. It looked like a trail of breadcrumbs leading to something murky. The last page was the worst. It was a message from a mysterious source that read, "If you want to find out the truth about Ethan, you need to look into his past, his family. They're the key." This was the moment when everything changed. Marissa couldn't sit idly by. If Ethan was hiding something, if he was involved in something that wasn't just morally wrong but possibly illegal, what did that mean for the nonprofit she had worked so hard to build? For the people who had trusted her? She decided she couldn't ignore the truth. She couldn't just turn her back on the people who were counting on her. She had to find out for herself, no matter what it cost. That night, she started doing her own research. She dug into Ethan's past. She started with the family, the names on the documents Adam had shown her, and found something that sent a chill down her spine. Ethan's father, a well-known investor, had been implicated in a high-profile financial scandal years ago, one that had ruined several businesses. People in the media had whispered about it, but it had all been swept under the rug. The timing of the scandal aligned with Ethan's rise in the tech world. Could it be that he'd built his empire on the back of his father's dirty dealings? The more she uncovered, the more questions surfaced. But it wasn't until she made a call to one of Ethan's former colleagues that the final piece of the puzzle clicked into place. "Ethan's always been charming, you know," the colleague said over the phone, her voice barely above a whisper. "But you don't get to the top in his world without making some sacrifices." "What kind of sacrifices?" Marissa asked, holding her breath. "You know his father's connections. Ethan didn't just inherit money. He inherited favors. There are people he owes, people who expect him to pay them back in ways that are less than legal." Marissa felt a cold shiver run down her spine. "So, everything he's built, it's based on these favors?" The colleague paused, then said something that shook Marissa to the core. "I'm telling you this because I think you should know. If you're working with Ethan, be careful. The people he's involved with, they don't let anyone walk away without paying a price." Marissa didn't sleep that night. The weight of what she had uncovered pressed heavily on her chest. She didn't know what to believe anymore. Was Ethan the man she thought he was? Or was he a product of his father's sins, a man tangled in a web of lies and manipulation? The next day, she confronted him. Ethan met her at the office, his usual calm demeanor in place. "What's going on, Marissa? You look upset." "I need to know the truth," she said, her voice shaking with a mixture of anger and fear. "I've been digging into your past. I know about your father. I know about the deals. You've been hiding something from me, Ethan. What is it?" His face went pale. For the first time since they'd met, Marissa saw a flicker of vulnerability. "You don't understand," he whispered. "You don't know what it's like to have a father who forces you into his world. I didn't want this. I didn't want to play those games." But the damage was done. Marissa had heard enough. The truth had come crashing down, and it was clear now that Ethan was tangled in a world far darker than she had ever imagined. The story took another shocking turn when Marissa made the decision to go public. She couldn't keep quiet anymore. The public needed to know the truth, and if she had to sacrifice her reputation to expose it, she would. But what followed next was unexpected. Ethan came forward too. He admitted everything. He confessed his father's sins and his own mistakes. But he also claimed that he had tried in his own way to make up for the damage by giving back, by helping people like Marissa and those in need. But it wasn't enough. The fallout was swift, with investors pulling out, media outlets running scandal after scandal, and the public turning against him. Marissa stood at the crossroads of her future. She had made the right choice in the beginning, returning the wallet, choosing integrity over temptation. But now the choice had grown harder than ever before. Was she going to walk away from Ethan? Could she still trust him? Or was this the price for all the good she had done? The decision wasn't easy. But Marissa knew one thing. Her mission was bigger than any one person. The nonprofit she had started would continue with or without Ethan's help. And so she forged ahead, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. But there was still one lingering question, one that she'd never have the answer to. Would Ethan ever truly be free from his father's shadow? It's funny how life has a way of shifting the ground beneath your feet when you least expect it. Marissa was learning this lesson in ways she never imagined. She had made the right choice all those months ago, returning Ethan's wallet, choosing the moral high ground when no one was watching. But now, the world was watching, and what she didn't know at the time was that the very decision she thought was small, the one where she chose to do the right thing, was going to send her spiraling into a world that was far bigger, darker, and more dangerous than she could ever have anticipated. Weeks after the confrontation, and just as Marissa began to feel like she could breathe again, she received a message that would change everything once more. A small envelope, hand-delivered, arrived at her doorstep. No return address, just her name, scribbled hastily. Inside she found a single sheet of paper with one cryptic sentence. "The past is coming for you. Be ready." Her heart dropped. She stared at the note, puzzled. What did this mean? Who was this from? Was it someone from Ethan's past? Or was it someone from her own life trying to send a warning? In that moment, Marissa realized something terrifying. The truth about Ethan's past wasn't over. It was just beginning. The next day, Marissa went to meet Ethan, hoping for answers, but when she arrived at his office, the receptionist told her he wasn't in. Oddly enough, no one seemed to know where he was. Not his assistant, not his close colleagues, not even his closest friends. There were whispers, however, rumors that Ethan had left town for a while. But it wasn't just Ethan's disappearance that had Marissa rattled. It was the unsettling feeling that something bigger was looming, something tied to Ethan's past, and now, somehow, tied to her own life as well. As Marissa tried to make sense of everything, she began to notice strange things happening around her. A car parked across from her house, windows slightly rolled down as if someone was watching her. A phone call at night with only silence on the other end. Someone had hacked her computer, leaving behind strange files she didn't recognize. At first, she thought it might be her imagination, the stress of everything she'd been through. But then came the chilling realization. Someone was trying to intimidate her. Someone was trying to stop her from uncovering the truth. One evening, Marissa got a call that made her stomach turn. It was from a woman who claimed to have been a former business partner of Ethan's father, a woman who had lived in the shadows for years, hiding from the chaos of the past. She spoke in a hushed voice, like someone who feared being heard, even by phone. "I know you're looking for answers, Marissa, and I know you've been digging into Ethan's life," the woman said, "but be careful. The people who are still connected to Ethan's family, his father's old associates, they don't let go easily. If you keep going, they'll make sure you regret it. They will destroy everything you've built. Everything." Marissa's blood ran cold. She wanted to hang up, but something in the woman's voice kept her on the line. "What do you know? What are you telling me?" Marissa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The woman hesitated, then spoke with urgency. "You're in more danger than you realize. Ethan's father, Richard Cole, had dealings with some very dangerous people. And Ethan, he's not just some businessman trying to change his ways. He's part of a web of influence and power that goes far beyond what you've seen. Don't trust him, Marissa. He's not who you think he is." Before Marissa could respond, the line went dead. In that moment, everything clicked. The warning signs, the strange messages, Ethan's sudden disappearance. She realized that her life was no longer just about helping people or running a nonprofit. It was now about survival. And the more she dug into Ethan's past, the more she uncovered the tangled mess of lies, corruption, and secrets. This wasn't just about a man who had hidden his true nature. It was about a legacy of power, manipulation, and dangerous people, some of whom would stop at nothing to keep their secrets buried. Marissa's next move was calculated. She knew she had to go deeper, but she also knew it would come at a cost, and that cost might be higher than she was prepared for. She reached out to one last person, the one person who might know more than anyone else. Ethan's estranged sister, a woman who had cut ties with the family years ago. Marissa had heard about her in passing, but had never spoken to her. The sister, named Olivia, had always kept her distance from Ethan, and it was clear that she wasn't the type to speak out in public. But desperate times called for desperate measures. Marissa managed to track Olivia down to a small town in Southern California, far away from the chaos of the city. Olivia greeted her at the door, looking weary, but surprisingly calm. "I didn't want to get involved in this," Olivia said, inviting Marissa inside. "I left everything behind for a reason. But I can't just sit back anymore and let you walk into something you can't handle." What Olivia revealed next shook Marissa to her core. "You've been looking at Ethan as if he's just another businessman with a dark past," Olivia said, her voice steady. "But the truth is much worse. Ethan didn't just inherit his father's business, he inherited a debt. A debt to people who have been in control for decades. People who have connections to politicians, to law enforcement, to the highest echelons of power. People who've been involved in things so dark, so hidden, that they've never seen the light of day." Marissa's head spun. How deep did this go? "The nonprofit you've been building?" Olivia continued. "That's just the beginning. They knew from the start. They knew you were trying to make a difference. And they let you think you were doing it on your own. But now that you've gotten too close to the truth, they'll come after you." It was at that moment that Marissa realized everything she had worked for was about to be tested in ways she couldn't have imagined. The people who had been controlling Ethan, who had manipulated him into their world of power and greed, were closing in on her. They weren't just after Ethan anymore. They were after her. The last thing Olivia told Marissa before she left her house was something that haunted her for days. "You can't outrun this. The people who are after you, they've been watching you for years. They know everything about you." Marissa's world was falling apart. She had one choice left: to go public with everything she knew, to expose Ethan's family and the powerful web of people who controlled him. But the risks were too high. Her family, her friends, the people she had worked so hard to protect, they could all be in danger. The clock was ticking. Marissa sat alone in her apartment, staring at the open files on her desk. Every piece of information she had gathered about Ethan's past seemed to point in one direction, a direction she didn't want to go. She had uncovered so much, yet each discovery only raised more questions. Who could she trust now? What was Ethan's true role in the web of power and corruption she had inadvertently become entangled in? Olivia's warning echoed in her mind. You can't outrun this. She wanted to believe there was a way out, some way to stop everything from spiraling out of control. But deep down, she knew the truth. The people she had been trying to protect, the people who believed in her nonprofit, in her mission, they were all in danger now. And Ethan? Was he the mastermind behind it all, or had he too been a pawn in a game that had been played long before he was born? The next day, Marissa got an unexpected visitor. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw a man standing outside her door. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a cold, hard look in his eyes. "Marissa Jacobs?" he asked, his voice low but firm. She took a step back, instinctively feeling that something wasn't right. "Who's asking?" He pulled out a badge. "I'm Agent Walker, FBI." Her mind raced. The FBI? What did they want with her? "I need to talk to you about Ethan Cole," Agent Walker said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Ethan?" Marissa stammered, suddenly unsure of what to say. "What does the FBI want with him?" The agent's expression darkened. "I've been investigating Ethan for months. He's tangled in something much bigger than we thought. And now I'm starting to believe you might be the key to uncovering the truth." Marissa felt a knot tighten in her stomach. What truth? Agent Walker sat across from her, his eyes never leaving hers. He spoke in a calm, measured tone, but there was a hint of urgency beneath the surface. "You've been working closely with Ethan, right? helping him with his nonprofit, trying to make a difference in the community? Yes, that's right. But what does that have to do with the FBI? Marissa's voice was shaky, unsure of where this conversation was headed. Everything, Walker replied bluntly. You see, Ethan didn't just build his business empire from nothing. He's been using his nonprofit as a front for money laundering. For years, his family has been connected to criminal organizations with global reach. And now, well, now it looks like the people he owes have finally come to collect. Marissa felt as though the floor had been ripped from under her. What do you mean? Ethan's not involved in anything like that. He's trying to do good. He's trying to help people. Walker shook his head. That's what he wants you to believe. But the reality is far uglier. His father's empire is still running, but it's being hidden behind the veil of charities, nonprofits, and business deals that look clean on the surface. Ethan's been caught in the middle of it all, and you've been dragged into it too. Marissa was in shock. The world she had built, her work, her trust in Ethan, was crashing down around her. Could it really be true? Had Ethan known about this? Had he been using her all along? But then Agent Walker dropped another bombshell. There's something else you need to know, he said, his voice grim. You're in danger, Marissa. The people Ethan's connected to, they won't hesitate to silence anyone who poses a threat to their operation. And right now, you're a threat. The words hit her like a freight train. Silence? Did that mean they were coming after her? Would she be next? She barely slept that night. Her thoughts were a whirlwind, and her anxiety was at an all-time high. The world she had believed in, her friends, her colleagues, her purpose, felt like a lie. And Ethan, was he truly a victim of his family's dark legacy, or had he been a willing participant in their game of power and control? The next morning, everything changed. Marissa received a call, and this time, it wasn't an unexpected visitor. It was Ethan himself. Marissa, I need to talk to you. His voice crackled on the other end of the line. I know you've been investigating me. I know what you've found. Her heart raced. So it's true then? She asked, barely able to keep her composure. You're involved in this criminal organization? There was a long pause before Ethan spoke again. It's complicated, Marissa. I didn't choose this. But the people I'm involved with, they don't give you a choice. And now they're coming for you too. You've become a liability. Marissa's mind was spinning. A liability? What did that mean? I'm not asking for your forgiveness, Ethan continued, his voice low, but I'm trying to protect you. If you stay close to me, they'll target you. If you keep digging, they'll do whatever it takes to make sure you stop. She could hear the desperation in his voice, and for a moment, she felt a flicker of sympathy for him. But it was fleeting. How could she trust him? I don't know what to believe anymore, she said, her voice trembling. I don't know who you are, Ethan. I don't know if I can trust you. Just then, her phone buzzed again. It was an unlisted number, and before she could even pick up, a voice she didn't recognize spoke through the line. Marissa Jacobs? The voice was cold, businesslike. If you want to keep breathing, stop your investigation. Stop digging into Ethan Cole's past. Now, the next time you try to play detective, we won't be as lenient. The line went dead. Marissa was terrified, but something inside her refused to back down. She had come this far. She had seen the truth, no matter how ugly it was. Now, she knew what she had to do. She had to go public. She had to expose Ethan and everything that had been hidden for so long. If she didn't, she might not live to tell the story. But there was one problem. Ethan was right about one thing. The people after her, they weren't going to let her walk away. And if she went public, they would stop at nothing to destroy her and everyone she loved. The game had changed. No longer was it about uncovering the truth for the sake of justice. It was about survival. And as Marissa looked out the window at the rain pouring down, she realized this wasn't just the end of a chapter. This was the beginning of something far darker, far more dangerous, and the stakes were higher than ever before. Marissa sat in the dim light of her apartment, her mind racing. The threats were coming fast now, each one darker and more desperate than the last. The FBI had warned her. Ethan had warned her. But the truth was, she had already crossed a line. She couldn't go back. Not now. There was no way to turn away from this mess, no way to pretend none of it was happening. She had to expose the truth, but every step she took would lead her closer to the people who wanted to silence her. But how much longer could she survive? Her phone buzzed once again, but this time it wasn't a mysterious number or an ominous voice. It was Ethan. "Marissa, please just listen." His voice was ragged, pleading. "You have to stop. I'm not asking for your forgiveness, but I need you to know they'll stop at nothing to keep you quiet. They'll destroy your reputation, your life. They'll come for you." Marissa's heart pounded in her chest, but she refused to let the fear control her. "You should have thought about that before you dragged me into your mess, Ethan. You're not the only one at risk anymore. We are." There was a long silence on the other end of the line, and then he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't want this for you. I never wanted you to get caught up in it. But there's no way out now, unless you do what I tell you. You have to leave town. I'm not asking you to disappear forever, just until it's safe." Marissa didn't answer immediately. Her mind was torn. Should she run, try to escape this nightmare? Or should she stand firm and expose everything? The lives of so many people had been affected by this dark web of corruption, and now it was her responsibility to bring it all to light. She was done running. "I'm going public," Marissa said, her voice steady, resolute. "I'm going to tell the world what's really going on. The people behind this, they can't be allowed to control everything anymore." Another silence. Then Ethan spoke in a low, almost broken tone. "I can't protect you, Marissa. But if you do this, there's a chance they'll come after you harder than ever. They won't stop." She didn't care. "I'll take my chances. You've had your chance. Now it's my turn." A week later, Marissa stood in front of a news camera, the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. Her eyes were red from sleepless nights, but she was resolute. She wasn't just a victim anymore. She was going to make sure everyone knew what Ethan's family and the criminal organizations they worked with had been hiding for decades. The reporter stood beside her. "So, Marissa, what exactly are you alleging?" "I'm alleging that Ethan Cole's family built their fortune on a foundation of money laundering, organized crime, and illegal deals that have affected thousands of innocent lives," she said, her voice clear and unwavering. "I have the evidence, the documents, everything you need to see the truth. It's time this stops." Her confession was on the news. It spread like wildfire across social media, catching the attention of not just ordinary citizens, but authorities, journalists, and even those in positions of power who had remained silent for far too long. But as the world reacted, the backlash was swift. Within hours, Ethan's name was splashed across headlines, his family's criminal empire starting to unravel. But with the revelations came danger. The people behind Ethan's legacy weren't going down without a fight, and Marissa was their next target. She knew that, but now it was out there. There was no taking it back. As she sat in her apartment later that evening, staring at the messages pouring in, a loud knock echoed through the door. Her heart raced. This was it. She opened it slowly, her hand trembling. There, standing in front of her, was none other than Agent Walker, the FBI agent who had once warned her. "I told you that they'd come for you," he said quietly, his voice soft but full of urgency. "But it's not too late to protect yourself. We've got you on our radar now. You're not alone in this." Marissa looked at him, unsure whether she should trust him. Could she? Was it too late to turn back? "I don't need saving," she said firmly. "I'm done running." The phone rang again. This time, it was an unknown number. Marissa hesitated but picked it up anyway. "Marissa, I don't know what to say. You did the right thing. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." Ethan's voice was filled with regret, but there was something else there. Guilt. "But the truth is, you're more important than I ever realized. I won't let them hurt you." She listened to the words, but deep inside, she felt something had already changed. The man she had once trusted was no longer the person she thought he was. "Thank you," she said, her voice softer now. "But it's too late for apologies. The world needs to know the truth, and I'm the one who has to make sure they hear it." Epilogue. In the weeks that followed, Ethan's empire crumbled under the weight of the evidence Marissa had exposed. The FBI moved in, investigating every detail, every connection that had been hidden for years. His family's name was tarnished, and the criminal network they'd built was destroyed. But Marissa didn't stop. She kept pushing, keeping her promise to those who had trusted her, to the people whose lives had been ruined by Ethan's family. She had won, but at what cost? The truth had come out, but the battle wasn't over. For Marissa, it was only the beginning. She had survived the storm, but the question remained, how long before the next one hit? Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. If you like this story, be sure to share your opinion in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and get ready, because there's a sea of shocking, real-life stories waiting for you. Keep following us for more captivating tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Don't miss the next chapter in the stories that matter most.